Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Final tips. F's won't matter, but it does go. And that'll do it. Penn State. Might that be the one that gets them into the dance?
Under 10 to go. Get the drive.
About the roller, that means the guy with the ball can get his game on. On the other end, a one-handed slam for Pharrell Payne.
Kaluma. No place to go. 7 to shoot. Alexander's got to hurry. That's a flop. Alexander fades.
Good player. Really talented kid.
Nothing easy right now. This team has become a nice extra pass by Shireman. Plenty of time.
On the season, we played 32 games, and we're whatever we are, top 12 or 13 in defense and top 30 in offense. So we've been relatively consistent most of the year. Tonight, I thought we were exceptional offensively with our ball movement and a good mix of inside and out. Defensively, that's just our attention to detail that first 26, 27 minutes of the game was really on point.
A lot of excitement after the victory from Madison Square Garden last night. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Andrew Rogers, Damon Benning here, and what's unique and what's interesting about that win last night for Creighton was, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I was talking with DB after the show yesterday, and he had said, "Man, Andrew, I think it's going to be a drumming. I think it's Creighton's game." Because I said, DB, the line's 4.5. Would you take Creighton, or would you give a little buffer and take Villanova with the points? And he's like, "Come on, man. It's Creighton. I have Creighton winning the Big East championship this year. It's going to be Creighton." Well, for the first 26 minutes of that game, no doubt that it was Creighton. That was probably the best start I've seen out of this Blue Jays group since Maui. Is that an extreme?
No, I thought total complete effort. I mean, they showed why. And Coach Max said it, I think, right after the post game, right? He's like, "Hey, we're top 30 offense, we're top 15 defense." That was pretty complete. I thought we were too fresh off of what Villanova had done to Creighton the first couple of times around, just because we just overthought it. I was like, better team, better players.
I can admit that I overthought it.
Better coach. That's all. It's like I'm not falling for this one. They'll do the same thing tonight. All right. What are they? 3.5, 4-point favorite. They'll beat Xavier tonight, and it's going to be because. I don't know if I want to get this specific because, the big three were doing the darn thing last night, right? It was Cole, Trey, and R2. And I don't think that'll change. But listen, Sherman had to fight off foul trouble. He didn't get it going until he got some time back on the floor. When Kaluma is not in your Villanova post-game scouting report, you probably have a good chance to play a little different tonight. Hey, Kaluma could go grab you 18 tonight and not give it a second thought. And I don't think Xavier guards well enough. Somebody, and my guess is Kaluma, because I think he's the guy that goes off tonight because It's going to be somebody different. Sharman should be well rested after sitting a while with fouls. It's just too hard. I don't know. It's like I was talking to you and Matty D Marinas, who is pretty fantastic. Too many ways to get you. I know it's the usual suspects. I'm not saying like, oh man, he's gonna go 9 deep. It could be, but it could be any 3 of the 5 on any given night. I just think it's too much.
Yeah, there are those occasions where it's just one, maybe 2 Blue Jays that are leading the way, and then the other 3 kind of fall off, and that's when you get into some choppy water, that dicey territory. But not last night. I mean, even though Shireman got into foul trouble, he almost ended with a triple-double.
Yeah, and he had the 5 to 6 when he was sharing the ball early. I was like, oh, this might be a good night.
Pass. I kept saying as I'm watching on TV, I kept going, nice pass. Oh, what a pass. What a good look. I didn't give Kalkbrenner enough credit, though, for making the cut.
Hey, how about some of the catches? Like, don't sleep on Kalkbrenner's hands. Some of the little skip bounce pass he threw, it was kind of on his left hip. He scooped that bad boy like no big deal. It was like a Doc Sadler moment. I can't find
your little adapter.
Yeah, I hate the setup in with these cords. I mean, full disclosure.
Yeah, they are kind of all over the place.
Sucks, but I suppose I'll find it.
Well, we had kind of a unique morning.
I don't know where my adapter is, Shane. So
we had kind of a unique morning because when I walked in, the table was actually backwards.
Yeah,
so like it was the crescent moon that we sit at was pointed to the wall, opposed to be pointed to the big double doors. And so Shane and I were like moving around tables, and then TV walks in and goes, "I forgot my work laptop at home."
Yeah. So you know what happened?
Please tell me it was in your car the whole time.
No, it's at Westside. This isn't.
Oh no.
No, this is my backup. This is my Husker radio bag. This isn't.
No.
This isn't my Hurrdat bag. Yeah. So I call Coach Samanji, and thank goodness he gets to school early. I go, hey, I said, can you check and see if I left my gray Hurrdat back there, because we had 8th grade open house last night. So I mean, at the high school until, well, thankfully the Jays game started late because I was at the,
and not just late.
Yeah, I didn't leave there until like 8:30.
Oh, so you got the tip.
So I was like, yeah, I got plenty of time for this. So I'm on my work laptop. I maybe will come online.
It's Friday.
And let people see me later. I'm here. I exist. But
TV
it is Friday.
Is in the chair.
It's a big day. And I went back and forth over whether we should have Coach Simons on or not. And I was like, nah, I don't want to talk to you on game day. I didn't even talk
Is it a jinx reason, or is it just you don't want to don't want to mess with the mind?
Here's the deal. I'm not, as you know, I'm not superstitious, but last time I talked to them on game day, they took an L. Now, they could take one tonight. Most people think they will, so it's not going to be due to whether we talk to him or not. I think he's going to talk to one of the other networks. Don't pay attention to that one, but it's one of those days last night. I knew it was a big game potentially because you heard him call me yesterday during the show, right? It's the typical dad. He's like, well, 3 things. I can't even remember what the first 2 were. But the third
Little King was probably one of them.
No, what was it? I can't.
He loves himself a sub sandwich.
Yeah, turkey, cheese, light mayo, 12-inch on white. That is exactly right. He does love him some Little King. But anyway, he wanted some Epsom salt. And I was like, you good? He's like, listen, man, I want to be right. So he's got some treatment. He put the little inflatable things on his legs. He's in some Epsom salt. This one must be a big one.
This one must matter.
and he loves big games, and he had his work cut out the second time they played. But his first time he was only like 2 games in, and they weren't very good in the backcourt. But this last time, I mean, and he's got his hands full with Polacek and Doltzler and Jaden Jackson, and when to switch, when not to switch. In which, Doltzler, I think he scored 17 against Bellevue West in overtime, but it took 17 shots. I think he was 6 of 17, and he was 0 of 4 from 3. And that's really the only way. Now, he made the best play at the end of the game to get Jay Jackson the 3. But really, that's really the only chance you have is you have to make him inefficient offensively. Because if he's just too good, right? I mean, he gets to any spot on the floor.
He's so good in ISO.
Yeah. And so if he's scoring and he's getting his 7 to 8 assists, I mean, that's why they're undefeated.
I'll tell you what, though, that 5.5 that Phil Woodard set yesterday.
You like
not
that
to
line?
say that it's
isn't it weird?
Line.
He does that every week, and it's amazing how good he is.
Well, and just by you saying that, 5.5 has to be one of the lower point totals for Bellevue West.
Yeah, it's too low, and I'm not saying that just because I'm Jedi mind tricking you. I would make it about 9.
Wow. So
here's
4 points that's a lot.
But here's the deal, though, right? Westside's floor is really low. when they're bad, they're awful.
Oh, I know. I've watched it this year. I know you've watched it this year, and I know they would admit.
I mean, they've had 18 turnovers in a game. They've had 17 turnovers in a game.
When did all of that come?
The first time they played Lincoln East a month ago, they were 0 of 15, 16 from 3. So they're capable. Like, man, who are these guys? Now, the cool thing is their ceiling is extraordinary, especially
when you're putting up 85 a game.
Well, and they're getting some offensive help now. I mean, remember they had a double-digit lead at the half, and I think Advadi had only had two made field goals. And if they're up double digits and he's not scoring, and you're getting Stubblefield and guards are getting downhill, and I mean Ricky Lofton is getting healthy. He gave them a crucial 10 points. I mean, let's say their starters went 9, 9, 9, 10, 20. If they get that kind of balance, then you get 10 from. You get 10 from Lofton off the bench. Kevin Brown's. It's going to be exciting, but I'm not one of those guys. I still know clearly Bellevue West is the better team. And I would say the same thing. Like if I was coaching in a game and this was football, I'd say the same thing, right? I'd say, such and such is the better team. So I don't have any. It's not just West Side. You know what I mean? Like I
go West Side, yeah.
And in the other game, what did he make that one? He made it a pick 'em?
Yes, yeah, an even line.
I think it's spot on. I think it's truly a toss up. That one is going to come. Gretna feasts on they feast on bad basketball plays. You don't hard hedge. You don't play a screen right. You don't get back. They find it. They make you pay. Their guards between Wilkins, Wilcoxon, and Pekorski, they just keep coming. Smolenski guards you like crazy. I imagine he'll take Rollins tonight. He's going to probably make life miserable.
Don't think an 8-point lead either against Gretna is safe.
Well, they're just relentless. Like you have no idea what the score is when they're playing. It's a fit team. They play hard. Roselle plays hard. Smolenski gives them some versatility in who he can guard. And with Miller North, it's you gotta Moni's He's not the key, but he is a key for me. I like him a ton, so I lack a little objectivity, but I would want him on my team, right? He's gonna guard, he defends, he doesn't need a lot of attaboys. I'm big into not needing a babysitter. I'm over the emotional thing, right? He doesn't need a babysitter. Eli, their backcourt has to take care of the ball. I would imagine they'll have to play a little more Luke Davis in this one. But I mean, so it's gonna be a good day. 6 and 8. 6 is too long. I mean, I'm leaving early, but I mean, coming off the heels of last night and some controversy.
Man, that was
gonna be all right.
That was interesting to watch, and it had people divided on social media.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I think Santee being Santee doesn't factor into it, right? People don't want to say those kinds of things out loud. Well, if it was such and such, you don't make that call. See, I don't believe that to be the case. I don't. I think the official's in a tough spot. Did you see his angle? You see what's going on?
His angle looked worse than the angle on the other side of the hoop.
Correct.
Or on the other end of the floor.
Correct.
You know, as from an official's point of view, this was something that I actually was texting Sautter back and forth a little bit. I'm like, hey, did you see the play? Like, I wasn't there. I wasn't watching it live. I don't really know what led up to this. And Sautter said, man, I haven't heard anything yet. But what I was saying is something had to lead to the official, like, paying attention for something throughout this game, right? Was it jawing? Was it a lot of aggressive play? Was it some choppiness, chippiness, whatever you want to call it, on certain fouls? Were there some extracurriculars after whistles? Like, those are things I think about before a moment like this. And a video did come across social media of a time in the first half when the same player from Santee was lining up at the free throw line, I think, and I don't know if it was a nonchalant something or other, but ended up hitting a Shelton player in the face with his elbow. It wasn't hard, but it kind of showed that there was kind of some tension there between the two teams. Well, I'm not saying, hey, the ref took notice of that, but if I'm officiating that basketball game, that's inventory for me. Those are things that I look for because I don't want something like that to happen again. So no matter what time in the game it's at, whether there's 6 seconds, whether there's 4 minutes, if I see anything while there's a dead ball, I'm going to make sure I make the call. Was there a warning given on that? I don't know. I don't think so. But in that moment, I hated that people were saying that it was a flop. And whether you think it's a flop or not, because it didn't seem like, oh, he just football tackled him to the ground. You don't come out of the huddle. Shelton doesn't come out of the huddle and say, hey, man, like if he puts his hands on you, like make sure to sell it. Make sure you sell that. So there had to be something that if I get caught off guard, even if you just shoved me, if we are just standing in the middle of the restaurant and I'm watching the TV and I turn and you're right there and you kind of like push me, I'm going to fall just because my ankles suck.
Can I tell you this, full disclosure? And this is separate than the situation of the game, because I try to warn, I've said this for years. I try to warn people about, and you've heard me say this, stay away from, don't be the guy that says, don't call such and such during such and such time of the game, right? Because
how many times have you said that since we've sat down?
Because I just hate it. It's people that haven't played before. It's clearly people that have never played before. And not to make people feel bad, but you can't paint that picture in a game. Officials cannot. Just imagine an official saying, you know what, it's early, man. I'm not going to call that. Now, that's not to say games aren't called a certain way early to set. I'm to set some boundaries, right?
The example of that.
Listen, I just watched a game, and they were, and one of the guys happens to be one of my favorites. His whole family is, by the way, but they were 2 bad calls. They were 2 bad calls, and you sit there and you watch, and you're like, you know what? His vantage point, it's whatever. You swallow it, you move on. But I told those guys, in particular, I told Caleb, I said, hey, the second and the fourth foul, like, you got to figure out how the game's being officiated, and you have to adjust. You guys got, no, it wasn't just him. You guys got the 3 handsy fouls to start the third quarter. You're 4-0 in the foul column, and there hasn't been a minute to come off the clock. The crowd is murmuring, mad at the officials. It's not their fault. Keep your hands off people. Stop touching people all the time.
I hate the hand check.
And because, and I said this in a game at UBT, it's kind of an innocuous call. And it was only a 7th, 8th grade game. But it was the proverbial 35 feet away from the basket. A guard puts the ball on the deck. A player impedes progress by using his hand, but he's moving with the dribbler. Doesn't look like much, but if you let that go on, you muck the game up. So he called it early, right? And it's at halftime, and I said, "Hey, man," I said, "I see what you did." And he played. He's a great high school player. And he said, "Hey, I don't. This is two really good teams. I want this to be a little more free flowing." Okay, I get it. But at the end of that game, I don't think the situation mattered. It was heightened because of what it was. Stop me if you've heard this before. I said the same thing with Creighton Nova. When I think, I don't know where we've kind of at on the discussion of being on the same side, but that doesn't even matter. But it's just my same premise. I hate what goes on inbounds plays before the ball is inbounds. Just watch it sometimes. It is utter chaos.
Oh, they're
clutching, grabbing, holding.
Yeah.
So what did we say in Creighton Villanova? Oh, they should have called it earlier. Oh, well, if you're going to call it earlier. What did you see last night? He made the call when it happened. Was he? Listen, the flop thing. I don't know. Was it a foul? Yeah, it was a foul. So any coach, the official right there is in a bind
because there's only one call you can make.
And guess what? He can't call. It's not a common foul.
You can't call a common foul.
So does he want? Do you roll the dice? Do you not do your job and go? Yeah. Oh man, that ball haven't given it to the player yet. I'm just going to call a common.
Take this real fast.
I'm going to call a common
and
foul.
See if the coaches call me out on it.
Yeah.
Or a fan
you're not doing that.
No, because I'm not going to sit back and say, hey, you know the rule more than me.
Yeah.
And aside from that,
it's a tough situation, but I get it.
The only other thing you could do is blow your whistle, stop play, bring them both over, and sit and not call anything, and just be like, look, man, I know you kind of sold that, and look,
and you don't even have to go into that.
Yeah, you could just be like, keep your hands off each other.
Yeah, but the application of the rule is the application of the rule. It just is.
But that's why I said at the beginning, was this the boiling point? Did it boil over at this point where the ref said, I can't let this go anymore?
Yeah. And I think officials will tell you, I mean, we're 888-638-4876. Lord knows I know 1,000 of you. You can call in and be, Jeff in Montana, but, or Hannah. Is it Hannah, Montana?
It is Hannah, Montana.
Yeah, they're too old for that. But
you just
anyway,
like to live the best of both worlds.
Well, living my best life. I just think, what did he say over there? He's just low-key laughing for no reason.
Well, he laughed at the best of both worlds.
I'm just like, what I didn't like was people immediately reacting that didn't understand what went on. Like, don't perpetuate the madness. Mm-hmm. And listen, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I've been doing this. I've seen it in high school for 20 some odd years. I get the optics of wanting to bring in culture and race and everything else. Yeah, I'm not going for that. I'm just not. I'm not listening to that. Optics are a word we use when we don't have enough information.
Good point. Great point. When we come back, we'll set up the show. We'll continue this conversation and more. Stay with us. CNC.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
If we're swarm and you're the swarm guy, you got to get out of there. You're going to be the last guy to get to the shooter because we're going to match, and you got to move. Can't relax. Okay?
And we are back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Find us. AM 590 ESPN Omaha.
How are you people really going to be mad at me for that? Like,
Mad at you for what?
I'm consistent. My take on, I just got a couple nasty grams.
Oh, really?
Well, it's listen. So I've been there, right? Like,
Sure.
I mean, how do I say this? I've been on the other side of perception when two teams meet, and officiating goes the other way. I'm not here for it. I coached at a school for a long time that had a lot of minorities. I'm not going to entertain that because I'm speculating. All I can talk about is what I actually saw transpire. I saw the give and take. I get the environment that was happening. It's electric in there. It's a critical situation. But I simply say this, Uncle Ruru, WWRD. What would the referee do?
Oh, not Ruru.
It's not BD this time. Normally, Barry would have made the call, but he has to apply. You have to assume he knows the rules, and he has to assume that you know the rules.
Well, and how? Like this is
the only reason that thing got gassed up is because of the time of the game. And sure as I'm sitting here, if you guys would practice not losing your mind situationally, we'd all be better for it. Like, keep that same energy 3 minutes into the game as you have 3 seconds at the end of the game. And believe me, it's not just lip service. I tell her, if you think our players don't believe that same thing, you're crazy. And you're doing your job wrong. I'm telling you. Coach, 95% of coaches aren't telling their players, hey, you know what? He can't make that call during this course of the game. Does that even sound right saying it to a player?
Right. No. Santy's head coach should not go back into the locker room and say,
Josiah, I know you've been killing this kid for the last 30 minutes, man. He finally got you on a carry. He can't make that call during the course of this game. He's not going to say that to Josiah. Guarantee Coach Woodard's not saying that. He's not. No, Coach Feakin isn't. His guys have been boxing out, and I've seen this called a ton. So maybe somebody wants to hit me up 888-638-4876. A guy's boxing out. He's into a guy. Pretty good. A lot of times now I'm seeing the fouls called on the guy that's lower, rooting the guy out. We saw it happen. Creighton fans lost their mind. Was that Xavier? Like, and a call. And I just remember, bitch, that was the game I was driving to Central City. So who was Creighton playing? No, I was going to Centennial to watch Central City play, and Bish was losing his mind, and he goes, "That's not a foul. He's boxing out." And I've seen it at the high school level too, right? A guy's just kind of, you can't see me on camera. That's intentional because I'm mad at the situation, so I'm pouting. I'm not like. I'm boxing a guy out. You can see me boxing a guy out, and it's almost like he's being undercut. A lot of times they call that on the box. I don't know why that's being called more. Like, are you picking up on that?
Yeah, I am. But going back to your original point, like nobody's thinking like, hey, because you look this way that I'm going to call this foul. No one's thinking that.
Yeah.
Like, why are we trying to make that a case for something?
I can't stand my kids. Apparently Caleb's listening to the show and he goes, what does this say?
Do you want me to read it out loud?
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't even use my hands the fourth foul. That was the problem. DB, he's basically saying you're the problem.
I wasn't even talking about that one. That was a bad call. That was a bad call.
And there's bad calls in basketball.
It was, but you know what? I saw what he saw because I was in the other corner. I saw what I almost said his name. I saw what the official saw. The dribbler went by him and he fell. He fell, and he blew the whistle. And he's like, pushing. And I was like, yeah. And one of the guys that I was with that I shouldn't have been with that ended up having to leave was like, man, that's what we're on now. And I was like, I'm going for a walk. So I just walked around the floor. And then one of my other official buddies, he texts me yesterday and he goes, I swear to goodness, he goes, were you okay? You're walking around kind of bit. I go, I didn't.
Very hurt right.
I said, I didn't say anything. And he said, I could just tell. That's how well. Sometimes when I just take the walk, it's good. Like I hadn't seen.
Well, it's how you blow off some steam.
I hadn't seen every nook and cranny at PBA, so I decided I'd go check out the corners.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what was on first thought on the mind.
I said, hey Maya, you wanna go take a walk? Where are you going? Oh, I don't know. Wherever we end up, let's just switch seats. Yeah, okay, I'm going. So we just strolled.
You want to go get a soda? There's a stand right here. No, I'm gonna go to this side.
But how electric! I looked around like I looked at the Ogallala and Central City game, and I was just looking at the crowds, right? And it's an early game. You go to Platteview, is Milliken and company, fresh off a drop in 36. He's a handful, isn't he? He is
talk about somebody that can totally control the game. Like we were talking about elite talent yesterday with Alec Noonan. Yeah. And I'm not saying one player drives the show, but it's the Connor Milliken show on that platform.
He's just a handful. And that is one player who Pekorski's really good at it too. He understands without just blowing by guys how to use his body, his strength. If you can't guard him without putting him on the foul line, you can forget about it. He gets fouled a ton because he's constantly putting pressure on you. And it's discouraging.
Well, and basketball IQ outweighs anything else for him because he's somebody that can find his lane no matter how big the window is.
I've told his family this since he's been in the 4th grade. He has elite, and I use it sparingly, elite level fitness. He can simply just play harder, longer than 95% of the people he's playing against. While everybody else has got their hands on their knees and running out of gas and they're tired, he can play in the 4th quarter just like he plays in the 1st quarter. That's a problem. So you have to hope that he's being inefficient, because anything other than that, you're just going to be at the mercy of fatigue. There was a lot of good. I love this time of year, especially as a Carolina fan.
I mean, this is March Madness for high school basketball. And when you're looking for something to gravitate to after watching UNC as the preseason #1 down last night and will miss the tournament. It's unofficially official, but UNC is going to miss the tournament. They are going to be the first preseason #1 team to fail to make the tournament in the 64, 65, and 68 team era.
Is that a long time?
DB, if we want to date ourselves, remember when I asked you and Sautter, I think it was 2 weeks ago about when March Madness.
Are we sure they're not in?
First started. I'm sure, 100%.
Are we sure?
Like I said, unofficially official. So they're not even going to accept their NIT bid. Did you see like the reports coming out?
They don't have the fortitude.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
That's not who that.
No, I'm with you.
Not the most. How can I say this without assassinating their character?
Say it.
They don't exactly always appear to be a team that enjoys playing basketball.
You don't want to be, if you're UNC, especially this season, you don't want to be looked at as second tier to the other teams. Yeah. You just don't. Because of how it started. And also, man, Caleb Love. Like, can we talk about this one more time? Just one last time. How many shots are you going to take before you should say, hey, I should probably stop shooting the ball?
Hey, man.
Like, at some point, you have to say, like, man, it's just not going in. It's just not going in. But he's the type of guy that shoots until it goes in.
Shane, do you see what this guy? You see what are you trying to do?
I'm not trying to say anything. I'm not trying to do anything to hurt your feelings.
I'm hurt.
I'm more siding with you in the fact that, hey,
I've been saying this for a year.
Were you in the locker room there? I didn't see you.
Exactly. Is just not the answer this year. He was last year.
What are you trying to do?
What are you trying to say? I'm just saying, UNC, unofficially official. Is that a way to, can you say that? We were talking a lot of officials talk in the first 2 segments. Unofficially official.
We'll be all right.
We'll talk more high school next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
DB's got me weak in the break. I mean, I'm in tears. It's Friday.
So weak in the knees.
It is Friday. It's a big weekend in sports.
Control.
We're watching the World Baseball Classic on TV.
I don't need it on both
Japan.
TVs though.
Well, I think the remote is hooked up.
Hey, Lord knows we can't use it.
Well, hopefully the channel doesn't just change on a whim. Although I texted Bill this morning because I wanted to.
Hey, yeah. Where's your father from another something or another dollar bill? You guys have a very cute relationship.
I texted him and I said, "Hey, man, like, what's the pin for the iPad so I can change
son, you good?" Yeah, Dad. It's like, hey, but what about Barry? Oh man, he's back in the loo. Can you handle this?
Parents everywhere.
It must be rough. I did hang out with my mom yesterday.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah, I walked in the door. I won't say why I was over there, but I walked in the door and I was like, hey. She's like, oh, hi. So I gave her a kiss and I was like, yeah. I said, I kind of smell like Pisons. Like, can I shower real quick?
Smell like Pisons.
Well,
because you were dropping off meat.
Yeah, it was dude, stressful hours rearranging that stuff. Anyway, it's like, yeah, can I hop in the shower real quick? Because I still have to run up to school. And she's like, oh, okay. Pisons? Did you bring me any lunch? What, a pizza? No, pastrami sandwich? Nothing? So I felt guilty. I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Are you hungry?
I didn't know.
It is just noon.
I
It is
didn't know,
lunchtime.
I didn't know that you had, didn't have any leftovers. Well, I hadn't been cooking. I was like, oh, okay. So I felt bad and hopped in the shower. I came out. My nephew was there. Now, he's a stud. Works for the fire department. I mean,
And I bet he brought pizza.
My man brought Chick-fil-A.
Yep. I knew it. I bet he brought lunch.
I looked at him. I was like, "Oh, the other favorite air quotes son is here."
Well, yeah,
and what did he bring?
You just use and abuse
lunch.
water bill,
Listen,
and he brings lunch.
I'm fretting the whole time in the showers. I'm making fun of why she still buys Sweet Pea soap from like 1991. Where do you get Bath and who still uses?
You get that on Old Market.
Who still uses this fragrance? Anyone? But anyway, that's beside the point.
Story for a different day.
Well, she doesn't even
use
that.
It?
She doesn't. No.
Do
you know what I used? Do you know what I used?
Where this conversation was going.
Do you know what I used? You'll never guess.
Dial bar soap.
Old listeners will know. No, but for some reason that's in our house, which I don't understand.
I was told that that's supposed to really dry out your skin.
Dude, I could see it being good for that. But would you like to know what soap I use?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm getting off point.
It's called African soap.
Oh! Is it? What color is it?
It's black. Oh.
That's not like Irish Spring or anything.
So it's
not
just
green.
The setup is hilarious,
African
right?
soap is that?
I took a picture. Oh. I didn't put it on Twitter. I took a picture.
Can I look it up?
But it's just weird. So there's the more experienced, been around this earth longer type soaps.
It looks like a rock.
She's got the Gin Blossom, which is very dated. The Sweet Pea, which is kind of dated. Another Sweet Pea, which is kind of dated. The Nocturnal Sleep Soap, which is not for me either. Then there's this big. Oh yeah, that's your boy.
Is it this one or this one?
It's this one. This one. But then there is. Yep, because my son sometimes on a humbug just wants to run and shower. I'll have this for him.
Oh
yeah, she's a G. But it's just weird.
So see, she looks out for you in all ways. You stop by in a warm
and
house,
you just never know.
Shower,
you just never
use
know.
your African soap.
And I didn't bring lunch.
And you didn't bring lunch.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what it boils down to. I like how this is such a nice.
I'm showing him the picture now.
This is something I'd see in my grandma's shower.
Listen,
3 things those bottles right there.
It is immaculate. Even the shower rugs are folded up over the top neatly.
Oh, that's how I was taught to do it.
Oh,
yeah. I always got yelled at for not putting up it's called a step out mat.
Oh,
in my household at home.
Guess what we call it?
Step out mat.
Guess what we call it? A rug.
You call it by its true name.
So I gotta read you this though.
Leave it to us
because I think I gotta read you this because this is from my buddy. I just call him PK, and he's everywhere.
PK Subban,
total high school junkie. He's everywhere. But anyway,
I have a PK too. Believe it or not,
he goes. We're going back to the Santee game last night. He said, and he's what I would call level-headed, right? Because he doesn't have any skin in the game. He just loves to go watch high school sporting.
Hoops.
It's what he does. Always in a gym somewhere. And he says the intensity of that game was not such that the heat of the moment, the situation was predictably ready to boil over. I actually thought both teams stayed extremely well composed. I was really impressed how Santee handled the whole situation. First ever night at state. Their coach didn't use his timeouts. I wish he would have. Simple, cut.
Which I appreciate that because that helps bring my point to rest of, hey, was the intensity of the game starting to catch up with the call? That's helpful. Thank you.
Well, it's different perspectives because if you just read the deal from Ryan on Twitter, I don't know if he tweeted both of us, but since my computer's not working and I'm doing the show from.
He would have just tweeted you.
Did he? So Ryan says, and listen, I'm not pawning any of this off as fact. I'm just giving you multiple vantage points. He said, love the logic of fans. Kid throws elbows all game. Ref tees him up at the end of the game. Fans blame the refs. Little different.
So then it goes back to what?
So I guess it just
what I said at the beginning.
And I don't. I know Ryan, and I know PK. I'm not saying whose vantage point is more accurate. I'm just telling you that with two different perceptions, go by what you actually know. Dead ball foul.
It's a T.
It's a T. That's all we know for sure. Anything else is speculatory, right? And I'm not saying you can't speculate and have an opinion. I'm just saying that's not the hill that I wanted to die on this morning. Which, by the way, at some point we probably better set the show.
Let's do it now.
We keep dialoguing.
Mike Sautter coming your way at 8:00. He'll be the next segment. He's been down in Lincoln for how long now? 2.5 weeks.
He's a little too crabby for me. I stopped messing with him yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I don't put up. You know me. I'm like, hey, you could take that someplace else. I ain't got time to be. I ain't got time for that, man. Like, keep it pushing.
Well,
Avery, by the way, does work very hard, so I will give Avery some props.
Oh, but Mike Sautter doesn't.
No, he works hard, but I migrate towards Jacob. Jacob talks a lot less.
Sure.
Yeah.
I thought Jacob's done a really nice job. And if you want to check out any of his pieces, hailvarsity.com is where you can do that. Use the promo code DB or AR, depending on what subscription plan you want to be on. We give you the discount. Go there. Does Jacob rest?
No.
Like, he's somebody that even through high school basketball was writing Nebraska men's basketball
no question.
recaps.
And he's a huge Creighton fan. That's his favorite basketball team. So
and I'm sure he stayed up to watch the Suns.
There's no and he's not sleeping because of the Suns. How many times do you think he watched that KD warm-up replay?
At least 10. At least.
KD's like warming up and sprains his ankle. It looked like he got hit by a sniper. You're like, there's no way a world-class phenom like Doug Dizzle, K Dizzle,
has his legs give out on him. Like, do you remember when I told you yesterday, like, hey, watch this? Like, you know when you tell your friends, like, hey, watch this, and you're going to do something that you think you can do 100% of the time, and then you just don't accomplish that?
Listen, full disclosure, I'm not going to make jokes because I have a scrape on my elbow today. Your boy busts his rear end. We're not going to get into detail, but I fell over backwards.
In the shower at your mom's.
At Pisons.
No, beforehand. No wonder you had a shower. You had to clean that wound.
Dude, it was very, very embarrassing. Yeah.
How many people saw it?
I hope no one. Oh, well, one for sure, because Oklahoma Tyler was going to Lincoln because Platteview played and Trey's getting his hoop game right. And I was like, hey, Zipline dropped off another stash. They got your Kolsch.
Hey.
He's like, I'll meet you. No, I asked if he would meet me. He's like, oh, okay, cool. I'll come back and get the kids. Not far. So he met me. So he's in his truck. And by the way, he didn't even offer to help me pull the meat out, come to think of it. He let me do it myself. Wait till I talk to him.
Are you hurt?
Well, it just dawned on me he didn't help me. So I'm walking backwards as he's talking to me at his truck. And do you think he told me that the curb was coming?
No.
Listen, when I tell you I bust
but
my
he was eye contact.
Your boy was wet. Yeah,
snowy. It was a little slushy.
It's not one of my better moments. Random guy was walking in.
And here's my question to you: what part was wet? Was it
my
your
left
back seat?
My left butt cheek.
So you can recognize
and my left elbow.
You can recognize those things. Like, it's not like, hey, I splashed some water on my shirt, it'll dry.
No.
Like, this was one of those, like, this is going to stick around for a while.
Vrzal had a flipping field day.
Well, that doesn't shock me one bit. We can talk to him at 9:45.
Well, we don't. Let's not.
And ask him about that little adventure you went on. We'll play trivia at around 8:30. Maybe we'll play 8:30, 8:45, and then at 9:00 we're talking to Adam McClintock, co-founder of Matrix Analytical. All that and more coming your way. Stick around. Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
I would agree, Damon.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Let's talk to the guy that has had no issue finding something to do. That is Mike Sautter, our guy at Hurrdat Sports, our high school sports insider. We talk to him every Friday, and Mike has been all over the place. If you just pop open the Twitter icon, you'll probably see Mike Sauter's face. just because he's there. He's there to give you information. Mike, good morning, man.
Good morning. Where's Damon?
He's here.
I'm here.
He is rebelling against his camera that will not connect to the computer for some reason.
So I don't want to use the FaceTime camera. I want to use the Logitech, and it's not recognizing. It's
Logitech.
What do you want me to call it? Is it Logo? Laga? What is it?
No, just Logitech is.
Yeah, it won't.
The name of the camera.
Yeah, you do have an Android phone, don't you?
I'm on. See, that's why I don't like the guy. That's why I'm boycotting it.
Out of nowhere.
Michael Jerome, I'm on an Apple computer. It is not recognizing my what did Sasha tell me to say? Logitech.
Yeah, I got you.
HDMI input, so I'm just not gonna come on the show.
That's all right. You're good. It's all good.
How you doing, man? I can see you on Uncle Ruru's computer.
What if I did like a little? Look at that! How about I do that? I can turn my camera. There you are. He's here, actually. It's not just a voice.
It's just being a good son, aren't you?
Yep.
It's like a
hey.
It's like a
way to go, slugger.
Yeah. Is that good, Bill?
Did I do a good job?
Did I make you proud?
DB thinks Bill is my dad up here in Omaha.
Yep. Just
some would argue it's Pat.
He's not responsible enough to have any sort of
so
parental.
Bill pays the bills, and Pat is like the cool dad that lets me party. Pat's the party. Bill's the bill.
No, that'd be more like a grandparent that lets you eat candy is irresponsible.
Calling Pat old?
I'm just glad to be in the reverse Oreo now.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, that's cute. It does go. It goes you, then me, then Michael Jerome.
Yeah.
Well, the Jerome will get you a little street cred. So, aside from being the hardest working person there, not named Jacob Padilla or Avery Howard, how are things?
I'm going to ignore that comment. Things are very good. Things are good.
Yeah. So, let's get right into it. What did you? Let's start with the Santee game, then let's get over to Platteview. Can you do that for me?
So yeah, I was not at the Santee game. I just saw video and everything of it, and I've talked to far too many people about it that I don't necessarily, at this point I'm like over it. I wasn't there, so I can't give a good, thing. And all the clips I saw.
Did you have to be there?
No, I'm just saying the clips I saw weren't like conclusive, whether it was a flop or not, or kid push him or whatnot. But I do know the rule, and if you, if it's a foul in a dead ball situation, it's a technical foul. That's just the rule, and there's not much you can do about it. So
all day, every day.
Yeah, if you're gonna blow the whistle now, maybe should the referee kind of be like, "Hey guys, let's just." Because it's towards the end of the game, let's just not mess it up.
Oh, you're towards the end of the game guy?
I mean, no, but like in that situation, it's kind of.
Is it because you have the advantage of hindsight?
I think so. Yeah, in the moment, and I guess I wasn't there. I guess there was a little, it was pretty chippy back and forth.
And that was my question because I wasn't there either. But I had brought that up to DB right away. I'm like, hey, I don't know the discretion of the ref here, but was he paying attention for things when the ball wasn't in play because of instances that happened prior to this moment? Regardless, I mean, people are just way too handsy when the ball is out of bounds.
But Michael Sautter, can I say Michael and not be your mom?
You sound like my mom, but
I'm sorry. Well, you did hit me with the reverse Oreo.
You hit me with the African soap.
But that's what it is.
Yeah, I know. But just like out of nowhere.
What did I miss?
Nothing. So, but we're bearing the lead. A 58% free throw shooter went to the line and made 2 free throws.
Right. Yeah, that's huge.
Right, like
clutch players hit.
And I know I'm super boring when it comes to this because I'm not a stir-up controversy guy because I'm either looking at it as a player or a coach. I'm almost never a fan. So it seems kind of cut and dry to me. Am I a wet blanket?
Nah, you're not a wet blanket, but I think it's pretty, in my opinion, I like to try and stay above the fray at best, when I can. And comments like that when stuff starts popping off. I went with my comment was, this is the facts. This is the rule. Not much you can do about it in the moment. Yes, hindsight is what it is. And it's too bad because Santee had a hell of a season, first time ever. And, I can tell you this, for people that think that NSA was against them or whatever they want to say, trust me, the NSA would rather have Santee in a semifinal for ticket sales than basically anybody else. So, yeah.
Sautter, did it surprise you that Wahoo was the 1 seed that went down out of all 1 seeds?
Man, I will say this: Wahoo probably could have won the B tournament. It did surprise me a little bit, but then if you think about it, if you really think about it, you give Jim Weeks 9 days or 10 days to prepare.
But that doesn't have anything to do with going 11 to 21 from the free throw line.
No, right. But give Jim Weeks that much time to prepare for you, he's going to come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
And he isn't one of the best coaches that we've ever had in the state for no reason. Whether you people either love him or hate him, and there isn't a lot in the middle. But the guy wins a lot of games or wins a lot of state titles, and people don't like his style. And frankly, they're getting ready to play Concordia right now.
It's a good basketball team.
Concordia is good, and they are very familiar with each other, just from in what each other wants to do, because they've played, I think, now 4 times in the state tournament. And then they had a regular season game last year. I can't remember this year. I was at the regular season one last year. So they're very familiar with each other. And it should be very interesting. 2 really good big post players for both teams. Quentin McCaffrey's a nice player for Concordia, and Auburn can counter with like a 6'9" big lug himself. So be pretty interesting. The second game this morning is the one I'm very intrigued by. Ashland Greenwood and Ogallala.
Yeah.
It feels like whoever wins that one probably gets it done tomorrow. And really it's a contrast of styles. It truly is. Ogallala wants to go fast and possessions. And Ashland, not saying that they wouldn't do that, but I think, their game plan is going to be to try and limit Ogallala's possessions, if you know what I mean by that. So very, very interested to see that game. It's pretty. That one's a pretty exciting matchup. I'm excited to see Ogallala, I guess.
Yeah. So 2 things. Actually a couple. Number one, obviously Andy and Charlie Gillen, Andy Ogallala's coach, been long time palling around associates. I don't know if that's good or bad, but there's 28 years in the books between us, right? A lot of pickup basketball games. Those guys play a certain way. Gager and Caskey are a handful, but with how they play, Gager's a fantastic guard, plays with a little swag.
Yeah,
and Caskey is an efficient son of a gun. Like, I've seen Ashland Greenwood a couple of times now, especially against Platteview. Who controls the tempo easier if each team is playing to their strengths? Is it Ogallala or Ashland?
I think Ogallala, because here's why. Ashland does have guys like a Brooks Kissinger that would probably prefer to play a little faster, right? That's just, I guess, my opinion. I think he would maybe like to do that. Jacobson will guard Gager, and his length, will that bother him? And he's athletic enough to hang with him. Look at that big head behind me. That's kind of interesting. Kind of cool. Got distracted there. But I think that if Jacobson's length, we'll see if that bothers Gager at all. Hey, Ogallala's got some big guys too. They're not small, just little guards running around either. So
they bullied Central City.
Yeah,
they really did.
Yeah, I figured that one probably would be about a 20-pointer.
I think if Central City would have had some of the easy ones go down early, I think it would have built a little bit more of their confidence. But they missed some chippies early and kind of went down at the half double digits. I think it was 33-22 or something like that. And it could have been much closer. And that was just one of those opportunities in a game like that, in a winner take all scenario, man, you got to maximize.
Yeah, you got to make shots. I mean, obviously you got to make shots. So hold on a second. I need a drink of my coffee from
the Beanery. Better be the Beanery.
No, it's the Good Life Coffee Shop at the Scarlet Hotel. So shout out to the Scarlet Hotel on Innovation Campus.
Listen, I hope Bill fires him. We're Team Beanery around here.
We are Team Beanery on the show.
All right, you humans. Stop
Is there
sign.
one in Omaha? I don't know.
There's like 4 great locations. There's one in Ashland. While you're hyping them up, you should have stopped to get one.
Ooh,
I didn't stop. I stayed at the Scarlet Hotel, which is also a Hale Varsity. I stayed at the Scarlet Hotel, which is also a Hale Varsity, a Hurrdat, how do I say it, partner.
How do I say it? Well, I'll tell you what, Beanery is 1, and then we'll put your coffee at 2. How about that?
Hey,
I got straight diesel black coffee, by the way, this morning.
All right, you and Michael Bruntz. Hey, so Sautter, I'm talking about fitness. I was asking you the question yesterday because fresh off of watching Carter Mick run around the basketball court for 32 minutes and be an absolute terror.
And not seem like he got tired.
I'm watching some of these guys play. Dotzler is just a handful, right? He plays the same pace for 4 quarters. Connor Milliken is in that very distinguished group too. How are you defending this guy without fouling when he's constantly putting pressure on you for 4 quarters?
He was special last night. Like, clearly they don't win the game without him. They don't win the game without Trey Mosman either.
Yeah, like, see, he's been a quiet addition.
Like
quiet addition.
They really, there's no way they win that game without Trey Mosman. Trey
scoring double digits his last 5 games.
And he also defended really well last night. That game was close. Hey, Norris, they're a year ahead of a year. They're a year ahead. They'll be top 5 next year easily in B, maybe top 2. Coming into next year, super young team, but props to Platteview. I mean, hey man, Connor Milliken wasn't losing last night. I know that. There is no way that guy was losing last night.
I thought they
hey, collision course or no with Scott and Platteview?
I wouldn't give it that easy of a go. York is physical.
And they're playing well too.
They're playing really well, and they got about 8 guys that could give you 10 if you need it. So
Andrew and I think you may have won that one yesterday. We kind of went back and forth on the picks. Did
I take York?
What did we go with York and Scottsbluff?
I don't even know if we put that game out there.
It was in passing off air, so I can't remember what we said. But York is playing well.
They're playing really well. I talked to Coach Lamberty last night, known him for a long time, and
very likable guy, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He's excited about this group, and they're experienced. They're big, physical. That'll be the key. Can Platteview handle the physicality and just keep punching back?
And
right?
Look, I know
because York's gonna.
I know Scud is Scud, but like, let's not overlook Crete either in the 1-3-1 defense that they play.
Hey, so Padilla and I every week. This started about 7-8 weeks ago, Mike. We were like, I'd like to see the schedule. Then they played one tough team, then another tough team, then another tough team. And then by the end of NEB Preps last week, we're like, hey, man, Crete's pretty good.
Crete's a good team. I remember when we first got out and talked to each other.
Yeah, and you said it. You were like,
what is Crete's identity?
And you go, it's kind of good to see them, kind of back in it. And I was like, I wonder if it can last. And it has lasted.
Hey,
they got
listen,
a
York and Crete can both win today. Like, feel good about that. I'm not saying they're going to. I just feel like don't discount that at all.
I got to check with Phil Woodard and see what Caesars has made that line.
Yeah, let's talk Class A now, so that we can get some Class A talk in with Sautter. The big one at 6:00 at Bellevue West Side playing their best basketball. I mean, we were going back and forth at the beginning of the show. I mean, if you look at since they had that loss to Lincoln East when they went 0 for 15 from 3, Westside's probably average close to 80 points a game, which is a team that could compete with Bellevue West.
I told Sautter we can't win that game.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say I'm not sure Coach Simons wants it to get in the 80s. I don't think that's that would be fun to watch for sure. I would love that, especially after what I'm going to watch this morning. But
good defense.
It would be fun.
That's what he means.
I just is again, like, what do you get from the guard matchup is awesome. What can you get from here's the matchup that probably won't talk about. Stuvie versus Andrwe. Like, who can have a little bit better of a game, and can Stuvie defend Tate like he did the I guess second time they played in the overtime matchup? That to me, I think
Stuvie
is key.
very well may have been the best player on the floor that game.
And I think that's going to be a key. Obviously, Kevin Brown and the rebounds will be, rebounding will be a huge deal too. But CJ Mitchell's playing really well. Caleb will have to defend Jaden, which love that matchup. Those two guys obviously know each other well and are really, I think, good friends. If I'm
two low centers of gravity.
I think CJ will get Jaden. Caleb will get Dotzler again.
Okay, then I don't know. And you have the defensive MVP against the best player in the state. So let's go.
Well, they got to make him inefficient again, in the second game. But the key to that one, though, was CJ's on-the-ball defense against Jaden Jackson that second time around was impressive. Because, as you know, I think people have made it a habit to try to go at Mitchell because he's a little slight. He held his own against Jaden, and I felt like the backcourt matchup was even on that day between the two guards. It was Stuvie going to work and Polachek hitting the big threes.
Yeah. Hey, Steven Polachek, by the way, is going to average close to 20 next year for Bellevue West.
I'm just telling you, that dude is a big shot taker, big shot maker.
He looks like he's on the esports team, but he's on the basketball team.
Listen, he low-key talks trash, too. I watch him kind of he's an ear whisperer, which I like. Yeah. He's very subtle.
Yeah.
And he lets you know that he's giving you buckets.
He's going to be a guy next year for them. He's just waiting his turn.
Well,
he'll hit a big three today. Watch. Big momentum like three today.
Appreciate that. Hey, let's just swing the pendulum and go over to Millard North. I have 2 X factors for Millard North, and I'll give you 1 for Gretna. My 2 X factors for Millard North are, will they have to play Luke Davis to kind of calm the waters? Because that'll let me know how poised Millard North's backcourt is. And what kind of impact does Money have for Millard North? Because I think people overlook him in the scouting report, man. Go ahead.
I was just saying a Moni Smolinski matchup is kind of intriguing.
So Smolinski was next, right? He can guard so many different positions. Would you put him on Rollins?
Oh, probably, yeah. Just because
wouldn't that be something?
He's a little, he's a little long and a good athlete. I would him on Rollins actually makes sense. Then you got, who does Jeff Vrzal?
It depends on how you utilize Money offensively.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the game within the game.
Because the guards we kind of know what you're going to get there, right? Who did Neil and Eli and
Jacob Martin.
Jacob off the bench was huge the other
day.
Yeah,
if he takes good care of the ball and his shot selection is good, he changes their dynamic.
And doesn't just force stuff. Like he forced some stuff and it went in on Wednesday night. If it's not going, just slow down, bud. Like pump the brakes and find someone that's open. Eli is going to need to have a big game too for North.
Does Gretna have to get something from Cade Cook?
Yeah, him at the top of their 1-3-1.
He's long, isn't he?
Is a little dicey, and the thing with that 1-3-1 though, is you got Neil Mosser that is a sharp shooter that can hit threes, and Millard North can shoot it pretty well from three. So, how's that 1-3-1 work? Is that going to make them get out of it when Cade's in? But when Cade's in, that's what he's going to do, and it's kind of a menace at the top of that. So, just the length and everything. I know Gretna really likes Cade. I talked to Coach Hurd about it. I mean, I'm excited to see what Coach Hurd comes up with as the defensive coordinator today for the Gretna Dragons. So.
I know one thing. He won't lack intensity.
Nah, he's amazing.
Man, he looks mean.
Listen, like
for a guy that really isn't, he's intense. He looks like he just as soon run.
Hey,
you
don't
over.
mess with him.
I've gotten to know, a lot of people through the years, and Bill Hurd and Brad Feakin are two of my favorite people, and I absolutely consider them friends.
Zero question. They are fantastic people.
They're amazing. And I have a special place in my heart for Bill Hurd. I don't know if you guys saw it, but like, I'll just bring it up. He was the coach that I talked to after in my speech that I gave, my keynote speech.
Yeah.
He was the coach that just happened to be there the moment that I got fired from my real job in 2015 at the state tournament. So
his real job.
Well,
I know. I just laughed that he says I got fired from my real job, as if what he's doing right now is not a job.
Hurd's a stud. I saw him at UBT a couple of months or about a month ago, and we just kind of talked off top. And he's a good one, man.
He's a great dude. Hey, by the way, no one should get up at halftime, because the best dance team in America is going to perform at halftime again. So we'll see if people think that's creepy that I take a video of them again tonight, which is weird because they have more clothes on than volleyball players, swimmers, or track athletes that are girls. And
I'll tell you what. There have been times before. There have been times before where when I worked in news and I would go to high school games, I would film the halftime show, and there were people that would like joke with me, like, "Ooh, Andrew, why'd you shoot him from that?"
Sautter, are you getting?
It's like, who thinks like that?
You're kind of. I know when Michael Jerome is a little edgy. You apparently got some bad vibes with that, or what am I missing?
Which is weird
it's
because
not look like a creepy guy videotaping 20 girls dancing around. Like that's what people think, but that's not
no difference.
Any media member thinks.
There's no difference than a volleyball player or a track athlete. They had more clothes on than they do every day. Swimming,
Mike, I'm gonna give you the best life advice I could ever give you.
Don't care.
Don't ever seek counsel from the less mature.
No, I don't. Hey, listen.
If you just do that, you're already winning.
Hey, hurt people. That's what.
You heard somebody once say that? Did you hear somebody once say that?
hurt people.
Mike isn't just at the state tournament to talk basketball. He's talking everything high school.
Go Avery. Go Jacob Padilla.
Hey, Avery won't be here today. She's got hockey.
That is right. UNO hockey tonight.
He's such a hater.
I love Avery. She's done a great job. So I think I have like Marissa and the boss lady Sasha this morning.
Now you actually stay in line.
You better get your butt in gear.
Sautter, we appreciate you, man.
All right. Yeah, bye.
See you, man. That's Mike Sautter at Mike Sautter _ on Twitter. Let's play trivia next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the show, 888-638-4876. If you'd like to get involved at any point, if you're trying to play trivia for a Hail Varsity Club gift card, well, your call won't be worthy at the moment because we already have a player. Let's bring in line one. This is Ray. Ray, welcome to the show. Let's play some trivia. Are you ready? You loosened up. You feel good, Ray?
I feel great.
Hey, that's what we like to hear on a Friday. That's what we like to hear. We need some good energy because we need to take down DB. You think you have what it takes?
We'll see.
Confident-ish. All right. Let's go through the questions. 3 questions. You get multiple choice, and then I'll give you a tiebreaker. And then when DB comes around, he does not get multiple choice, but he gets one Hail Mary. If you beat him, you get a $25 Hail Varsity Club gift card. Sound good?
Sounds great. Let's go.
Hey, let's go. Here, first question for you, Ray. In 1984, Patrick Ewing and the Hoyas defeated this team in the national championship that is currently a projected 1 seed for this year's NCAA tournament. Name that team. Is it Houston, Alabama, or Kansas?
Houston.
Question number 2, Ray. Which Major League Baseball team in the American League calls Globe Life Field home? Is it the Chicago White Sox, the Texas Rangers, or the Cleveland Guardians?
Rangers.
And question number 3, who was the first player to be on the cover of Madden? Yes, the video game. Was it Dante Culpepper, Eddie George, or Michael Vick?
Eddie George.
And your tiebreaker question, how many total points did Patrick Ewing accumulate in his career? A hint for you, it's between 24,000 and 25,000. Give me a number.
24,362.
All righty. Closest 2 on that one takes it home. Ray, how you feeling? You feel okay? Feel good about those?
I'm feeling pretty good about those.
All right. I'm going to text DB to come back through the doors. If you could change an answer, if you don't feel too confident, which one would it be? 1, 2, or 3?
It would be number 1.
Number 1. Okay. Well, DB, I think you have your work cut out for you today. Ray felt confident-ish as he logged on. Say hello to Ray, DB.
Oh, hey, Ray. I'm actually kind of hoping you win. I mean, I don't want to throw it, but I'm kind of hoping somebody wins. All right, let's go.
All right. Question number 1, DB. Again, you have 1 Hail Mary. Remember to keep that in the bag. I always have to remind you because you tend to not use it.
Okay.
And so just so you know, in 1984, Patrick Ewing and the Hoyas defeated this team in the national championship.
Houston Cougars.
All right. Well, I don't have to go any further. The finish to that question, that is currently a projected 1 seed for this year's NCAA tournament.
Sorry.
Okay. Question number 2. Which Major League Baseball team in the American League calls Globe Life Field home?
Boy. So this is one thing I'm definitely not good at. I'm afraid to use my Hail Mary this early. Can I pass and come back to it, or do I have to answer it now?
I'll allow it.
Yeah, let me come back to that. Fudge. Globe Life?
Globe Life Field. Just think on that. Question number 3. Who was the first player to be on the cover of Madden? Yes, the video game Madden. The first player ever to be on the cover.
What year? I was just getting cut again. Was that Washington? This has 99. Because I was a video game junkie. Was that 98 or 99? I'll go with.
Well, I had a Madden in 93 or 94.
Yeah, but it was always John Madden. Players didn't start
until about 89, 98,
no,
99.
No, yeah, because I was just about done trying to make a team.
You have the Hail Mary for this question, too, if you need it.
I'm going to go with Garrison Hurst.
And let's go back to question number 2. Which Major League Baseball team in the American League calls Globe Life Field home? I'm assuming you want the 3 answer choices.
Yeah, I'm still not going to know it. But
is it the Chicago White Sox, the Texas Rangers, or the Cleveland Guardians?
What does Global Life do? That could help me. No,
Globe Life.
Global.
Not Globo Gym.
We're here to. Never mind. In honor of John Tallman, I'm going to go with the Rangers.
Okie dokie. And your tiebreaker question, how many total points did Patrick Ewing accumulate in his career? The hint is it's between 24,000 and 25,000.
Yeah, okay, I'll be close because I knew it was 24 something. He scored 24,467 points.
467. Thank you, DB. Let's go through the answers. Ray, do you feel good? No, yes, tell me.
I'm like 70-30.
70-30. In favor of you or DB?
I hope Ray wins.
Those
in favor of me.
Those were tough.
Yep, always are. They're never easy.
Okay, go.
Hey, question number 1. In 1984, Ewing and the Hoyas defeated which team in the national championship that's currently a projected 1 seed this year? Is it Houston, Alabama, or Kansas? You both said Houston. You both are correct.
Okay.
Question number 2. Which Major League Baseball team in the American League calls Globe Life Field home? The White Sox, the Rangers, or the Guardians? You both said the Rangers. You both are correct.
Wow.
Nice
go,
work.
John Tallman. Let's go, JT.
And who was the first player?
You'll
to
always
be
get me on those.
on the cover of Madden. Oh, the baseball stadiums?
Yeah, I have no idea. I only know like 12, maybe 11.
Who was the first player to be on the cover of Madden? The three answer choices were actually Culpepper, Eddie George, and Michael Vick. So none of what DB ended up saying. So it all comes down to Ray's answer. He went with Eddie George.
That's a good one.
And that is correct.
Yeah, that's a
Ray, 3 for 3
Let's go,
on
Ray.
the day, beats TV 3-2. But Ray, you got lucky, man, because if this would have gone to the tiebreaker, it would have went in DB's direction. How many total points did Ewing accumulate in his career? Ray said 24,362. DB said 24,467. The answer is 24,815.
Let's go.
So
but
nice
shoot,
work
man,
on
good
the
job,
tiebreaker.
Ray.
But Ray, nice work, man. Taking on my Hale Varsity Club gift card.
Shoot, that's the first time I've taken an L in a minute. Good on Ray.
Ray, now you must feel good.
I appreciate DB throwing the game for me.
Yeah. $25 gift card at the hostess stand for you. Come pick it up whenever you can.
That's awesome.
Nice work, Ray. We'll see you later.
How did I? So, yeah, just fluky.
So
God bless John Tallman. Otherwise, it wouldn't have even been close. You know, you realize I had zero clue. Zero.
On the
stadium
question. Yeah. So when I was putting together the question, I'm like, man, I want to have something baseball. It's World Baseball Classic. But at the same time, it's like, man, like how World Baseball Classic's only been around since what, the early 2000s? Like, I think Japan got the first win in like 3 or 6 or something like that.
Surprise me.
It may have been even later, may have been 9. But Madden, if I would have given you the date, would that have helped you more? Like, because Madden 2001 was the first player on the cover. Would that have helped more?
2001, I would no, not really.
Okay,
because even your multiple choice were tough. Because you're within a couple
I'm within
of
the
years.
timeline. Yeah.
Like,
Well, I believe all 3 were on Madden.
Yeah. So I know Culpepper and Eddie George were. Who was the other choice?
Michael Vick. I think he was on 4, 2004, if I'm correct.
That's pretty good, man.
Eddie George was
so
1.
Does Ray
Culpepper was 2.
Does Ray get multiple choice?
He does. And Vic was
I still don't know if I would have gotten it with multiple choice. I know I wouldn't have said Garrison Hurst, though.
Right.
I just liked him. Came back from a broken ankle. It's kind of gruesome. I used to have a thing for old Georgia running backs.
And I gave you a running back as the answer here, DB.
I know,
man.
man.
You were.
That's all right. At least somebody. Listen, I wonder if he's going to get that Pacific Heat pizza. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, it's pepperoni, jalapeno, pickled jalapeno. It has pineapple on it though, so I'd be out. But
yeah, I'm not much of a fruit.
I mean,
it
was kind of rolling. Shane, did you see that? I think it's Pacific Heat.
Yeah, I saw that. It's got a lot of stuff on it. A lot of ingredients. But he does make everything I've had that he's cooked up here has been awesome. So
yeah, so I'm gonna tease this because I want it to be a party on St. Patrick's Day for breakfast. Corned beef, eggs, Benedict. Wait till you see what this bad boy looks like.
Yeah, the picture. I mean, pictures are. It doesn't even tell how good it is.
I'm team corned beef.
Stay on the line, Hockey Dad. We'll get to you next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Hopefully you had some fun there. I know Ray did, winning a Hail Varsity Club gift card, and it's always nice to take down DB in something. He is the smartest guy in the room. So
not true.
When you can take down a trivia mogul like DB, you're not a mogul.
Oh shoot.
A mogul.
No, sir. No, sir. I'm just waiting for 6 o'clock.
Well, we before we get there, still have a radio show to finish up.
Are we working today?
We are working right now. 888-638-4876. If you have anything you want to talk about, and we have a caller on line 2 right now. Hockey Dad, I'm assuming Jay Rich. Welcome to the show, man.
Good morning.
It is.
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
It's a lot easier to
I'm
talk
good.
to you when I know you're not saying something smart right in front of my face.
Well, it's early. Wait till next week.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, real quick. You were talking about breakfast next week. Have you had the wing sauce of the week yet?
Oh, I have. It's Thai peanut.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
It was Mongolian something.
You're talking about the one that they just started yesterday.
It was really good.
Hey, listen, that's brand spanking new. So you just were in here
yesterday.
Yeah, like they just.
Is it good?
He was changing the board yesterday morning when we left. The big guy?
It was really good. Wow. It's really good.
So what is it again?
A little orange. It's Mongolian fire, something like that.
Well, if it's like anything in the stir fry, that's probably going to be pretty good.
Stir fry?
That
tasted like it had some orange in it and some chili powder, chili peppers,
like
crushed red chilies. It was really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Noted.
it was good.
He doesn't
So-
mess around. I was too busy trying to get my
And Brett-
bags out of his freezer.
That is true.
And breakfast sounds real good. Are you guys going to be at the watch party?
Yes. That's
the March Madness watch party.
Yeah, so I'm pot committed. Jay Rich, you know me well enough to know like those aren't my favorite, but it's almost like they penciled me in and left me no choice. So it's like
no, they didn't pencil. They penned you.
Yeah, they Sharpied me in, and I'm like, I guess I'll be watching March Madness. But I can always hide. I know where all the closets and exits are.
I was going to say, you'll be in the corner. That's fine.
That's where they put baby.
Mm-hmm. Nobody put baby in the corner.
Hey, I just was calling hockey season. Playoffs are in full effect around the country, and there's a number of Omaha kids playing, trying to punch their tickets to nationals, including two of mine who play for the Carolina Junior Hurricanes.
That's
so they are the favorite in the USPHL Elite to go to nationals and win it, and their playoffs start tomorrow against the Richmond Generals in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Beautiful city.
So wanted to wish them luck, and wanted to wish all the other kids that are playing on punch their tickets to nationals luck. I'm not real thrilled about the times because it's 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, which will be even better on Sunday with daylight savings time. But anyway, I just wanted to wish Alex and Zach and their teammates best of luck. And what are your thoughts about Omaha tonight?
Oh, I can't wait.
yeah.
I think it's going to be a crazy series. It benefits them being at home opposed to at North Dakota. I mean, we saw that, last weekend, 2 weekends ago.
They split last time out, or was it the loss tie?
Yeah, it pays to be at home for this series.
I'm gonna take the Mavs in this one. Slight. I don't feel
they go
great.
to 3. What do you think, Jay Rich?
Well, they didn't have a good weekend last week. Home is definitely going to help. I hope the building is full. I won't be there this weekend, unfortunately. But, North Dakota is still North Dakota. And Omaha, I don't believe, has ever won a playoff series to get up to St. Paul. So
correct.
This would be a first, and it's also a first. I don't think they've ever played a playoff series at Baxter. So it's a big weekend for the Mavs.
That is true, too. Yeah, huge week for the Mavs, no doubt. Thanks for the call. And good luck to your boys, too.
I'm taking Mavs.
Yeah, I like the Mavs too. And it's really not only just because they're at home, but because they didn't have a very good weekend up in North Dakota, but they competed in those games. It wasn't like they got blown
I
out.
like the fact that they have a gauge. Because sometimes when you're kind of the unknown and you get a little trial run at it, now you can settle in, especially
now
back at
North
home.
Dakota, they travel well.
Oh,
they will show out.
Nebraska
it's going to sell out at Baxter.
Yeah, Omaha fans have seen this before. They know that they will come in droves to support.
And that's why we need the Omaha community there. If you aren't at Boys State basketball this weekend, support the Mavs. Let's go to line 3. Michigan Lance here to talk basketball. This may be the heaviest caller segment we've had since we started the show. Lance, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Oh, good.
What's going on, buddy?
Hey, good, man. Hey, my connection okay for you?
Great.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, man, basketball, high school basketball in the state of Nebraska. Question number 1 is, I got a couple. Number 1, is Dotzler the clear-cut best player in the state?
Yes.
Or is it, okay, is there anybody close or no?
Certainly not in 2023. Maybe not before it's maybe not before it's all said and done with some of the younger guys.
But I got you. But in
I actually
2023,
asked that same question halfway through the season to DB and Sautter, and the response was yes immediately too. And ever since watching him the back half of this season, no question. I mean, there's nobody else that can handle the ball like he can.
He's way good
with his IQ and just what he's been able to do, facilitating and scoring. It's incredible to watch.
He's bigger and stronger too. Like I think you'll be you see him up close. He's bigger than you think.
Yeah, and I know he's a great player. I'm not doubting it. I just know there's a lot of great players in Nebraska, specifically the Metro this year. So I didn't know how far and above his game has separated from some of those other players that, like we know, DB, that are younger as well. So that's my question. It wasn't like he wasn't good or anything.
Yeah.
And then the kid from Crete, is he a football guy too?
I don't know if he plays football or not. I was just watching the tail end of that game and all the interviews. Actually, I think maybe Avery and Sautter interviewed him. You looked at his frame, didn't you?
Man, yeah, I'm looking like, well, where did this kid come from? And I'm like, man, he looks good. Like, does he play football? Or is he just a basketball guy?
He's got a fantastic frame. He's a good interview too, because I think Avery got him maybe in the tunnel, like right after. Yeah, like
right. Yeah, I watched the highlights and I watched the interview. I'm like, hey man, so for you, he kind of came out of nowhere for you guys too. Then you kind of didn't hear about him early on,
so we knew about him as a player and like as a team. I think people there. We were talking about this 2 segments ago, maybe the one with Sautter. Crete was one of those teams.
Yeah, I heard you.
With that I would go over with Jacob on NEB preps, and this is probably about 8-9 weeks ago, and they were just getting ready to get in the thick of their schedule. So with each kind of win in advance, we're like, hey, Crete's they must be for real, right? Because you don't know the other part of their schedule. But yeah, we've been watching them on the come almost all year.
Okay. Yeah, hey man, I would really like to know the listeners. Hey
he
man,
does have a fantastic frame.
Man, if he is, I would like to see him put some film on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like I would like to see what this guy is doing, man.
How he moves.
I'm like, where did this kid come from? Like, and then especially Crete Black, it's like, hold on, wait a second. But we know how that goes, DB.
why the DB reference?
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Hey, Andrew, I don't know if your wife is a minority or not. I don't know. You gotta let me know. Oh, okay, all right. So hey, I'm not saying you discriminate.
No. I know what.
That wasn't
You're so fired.
And Damon, that actually wasn't personal. I was just talking about it. I'm dead serious. That wasn't personal. That was in general.
Yeah, Lance has had some classics on here.
Yeah, but that one wasn't. That wasn't a shot. Seriously. I will let you know if it was.
Oh, Lance, you killed me, man.
Hey, real quick, and then West Side, right? I'm rooting for Caleb and CJ Mitchell. Watched his dad, know him growing up and stuff, man. And so it's good to see. I know those other more basketball guys for West Side are really good, but the key for them, I believe, is Caleb Benning and Caleb Mitchell playing like they do in the summer in this tournament, which you saw some of that, you know what I mean, in the first round. But for the key for them, hey man, I've been hearing about these guys their whole life in the summer. You need to prove it. You know what I mean, where it matters and people remember, and where you can get a championship. You know what I'm saying? To show for it from the state bound.
Yeah,
and so
if you're playing that well on the national
like you know how to play
against better competition, no sense to not turn them loose tonight. Yeah,
exactly.
No,
most definitely.
Well, you must have been channeling your inner Alvin Mitchell, because he's been saying that all year.
Well, I think he's actually been saying it a couple years, because last year I was like, DB, what are they doing? I was like, man, Mitchell's on that too.
It's just hard when you'd won 20 some odd games. I mean, I don't think anybody saw the prep game coming when they laid the egg at State, so they'll have a chance.
Yeah, and I mean, because like you said, they've seen a lot better talent competition. I mean, they've beaten 4 and 5 stars.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, come out and do it and show that you can. And again, we talk about being aggressive. Being aggressive doesn't mean they got to come out and score 20 apiece or 30 or anything like that, but it's being active and aggressive in the game.
Well,
and,
they both played well against Bellevue West the second time. They were both atrocious the first time. So we'll see.
Right. We'll see which one we get.
Law of averages right there.
Lance, we appreciate the call, man. Thanks so much.
Weekend.
Call again soon.
Yep.
How weird would it
Talk to you later.
How weird would it be if it somehow was a West Side Gretna final?
Hey,
could you imagine?
I've said it. I've alluded to it. I shouldn't say I've said it officially. But look, if after 6 o'clock West Side's in the final, don't be surprised, because they're playing their best basketball right now.
You're more optimistic than me. I'm just a dad.
I'm just optimistic. Adam McClintock next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
It's 9 o'clock, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. I say it's 9 o'clock because if you are just listening, whether you are on Twitter or YouTube, you may not be looking in the top corner, so I wanted to tell you what time it was. So don't get mad that I just told you the time. We're also on ESPN 590 here in Omaha and now on KFOR in Lincoln, as we are for the last hour of every show. Happy to have you with us. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. He's Damon Benning. I'm Andrew Rogers, and joining us now on the show is Adam McClintock, co-founder of Matrix Analytical. at CFB_Professor on Twitter. Adam, good morning, man.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. I needed a touch. We got to do this every so often so I can get a little smarter, and Andrew and I can figure out how to.
I mean, I'll tell you what, talk about being smarter. I feel dumb because here's my first question for him, because anybody can pop on Twitter and be like, oh, yeah, I see the description of Matrix Analytical, but what does that mean? So for the sake of the rest of this interview and so that it goes well, Adam, dumb it down for me exactly what Matrix Analytical is and does.
Well, basically what we do is we help coaches and coaching staffs kind of use numbers to fill their needs. So say an athletic director has a need for a new head coach. His coach left for whatever reason. He can come to us and say, hey, I don't really want to use the buddy system. My network isn't that deep. My black book doesn't have that many names in it. Please help us. Please help us use numbers. We just provide another tool for these athletic directors and these athletic departments to use in making staffing decisions. So that's from a 10,000-foot view. That's basically what we do.
So now I won't sound dumb for my next question after DB goes.
So hypothetically speaking here, Adam, like let's say I'm talking to Andrew and we're having a show and I say something like, man, it's pretty impressive during this coaching search list how Trev is looking for first down run stop rates, third down conversion rates, who runs the ball X amount of times in the first quarter. Hypothetically speaking, if somebody was looking for that and had that data accessible to them, you could kind of consult and kind of be that guy to help plug and play what people are actually looking for, right?
Yeah, theoretically. Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I'm just kind of giving it because I think when I was talking about those things, and it was in passing and things that he was looking for, by he, I mean Trev Alberts, he was very, very specific about what he wanted this team to have and embody for the next coaching regime. I thought it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and every athletic director does things differently. Trev had, a certain way of going about it that was unique to how he was unique to his process, which we really appreciated. So yeah, there were certain things that certain criteria that he wanted to see in coming into the program, and we're three pieces of a 1,000-piece puzzle. Okay, that's what we are. We are not the entire picture, but we can help you to better see the entire picture more clearly. So that's basically what we were a part of in that process was just giving him, hey, the criteria that you've given us, here's kind of what matches what you're looking for. Now here you're really smart. You can make the decision. So,
hey, Adam, you're kind of like big brother for a lot of these hirings, right? Like you're kind of looked at as somebody that like, hey, it's my resource. Is that like a good way to kind of like describe what you guys do? Like, are you kind of like a big brother to these people?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're that tool we're that tool in your garage, right? That has one single purpose, and it doesn't get used very often, but when it does, you're glad you have it, and that's us. That's what we do. It's just purely staffing, purely using numbers to help kind of give one more element of just a perspective to these athletic directors that they don't typically have.
Yeah, if you're not watching on YouTube, Adam has a sensational mini helmet collection.
No question.
And as you know, I have a short attention span and I love mini helmets. So I am captivated by the background as you're giving me data. So guys like you, Dave, a lot of smart guys. And I think where you and I started to get along for so long, it was like you're bringing together the best of both worlds. I see better than I hear, so I like to watch. I reference numbers as kind of a baseline, and I usually arrive at the truth kind of somewhere in the middle. So you guys are so good at figuring out and helping big schools find assistant coaches, coordinators. Like, you can get in the weeds. How long does it take you to accrue data when you're like looking for coach effect? Hey, you know, as a run game stopper, or, you know, as a wide receivers coach, or he's an up and comer, like, you guys have to spend a fair amount of time compiling data.
Yeah, you know, our database, the way we do it, we don't actually compile the data on the spot. We already have the data already there. So we have play-by-play data for every coach since 2009 who's ever wore a headset. And that's FBS, that's FCS. It's a massive database. So what we do, Damon, for example, what you were saying is, say a head coach loses a wide receiver coach. Okay, he wants a wide receiver coach who does X, Y, and Z. Okay, we can go through and we can filter using his criteria to find the wide receiver coaches of the past since 2009 who fit that criteria the best and who have had the best performance. Now, keeping up with that database is a whole nother animal in itself, because this time of year, especially from like January until now, coaches are on the move. So we have to update our database with every coaching move, and double check, triple check that thing. That way it's accurate when athletic directors come to us in October, November, December for these coaching changes. So it really is it's a scramble from December until about right now, just keeping that up to date, because we don't want to feed our clients bad information. So, and as you know, just keeping track of head coaching moves and coordinator moves themselves is hard enough, let alone the position coach moves every season from the FCS and FBS. So that's where the time intensive part comes in, is actually keeping up with all the coaching changes and keeping track of where everybody is and where everybody's going. So
we're talking to Adam McClintock, a real life Peter Brandt. If he starred in Moneyball with Billy Bean, that's exactly what he's doing. He's going through the analytics, and keep it with this coaching staff, a young staff. If we want to continue to beat the dead horse, I mean, that's kind of been the thing with this Nebraska coaching staff. What would you say is the most unique piece of data you have on this staff? Is it the lack of experience for some guys, or is there something else that sticks out to you?
Oh yeah. First of all, lack of experience doesn't necessarily mean bad. Coach Rule, something that we have really, really appreciated about him and the way he chooses his staffs is he has a very good track record of going out and plucking guys that quote unquote don't have any experience, and three or four years later they're regarded the best secondary coach in the country, like you see Fran Brown at Georgia, or one of the best defensive line coaches in the country, as you see Elijah Robinson at Texas A&M. These guys weren't known quantities when he went and hired them at Temple. They weren't. They were guys that he was able to go out, evaluate himself, and pluck. That's a very, very specific quality in a head coach that isn't all that common, is the ability to discern assistant coaching talent. That's very tough to do. So while these guys, they might be inexperienced, don't let that scare anybody off. Coach Rule has a very good track record of doing this in the past. This is something he's done in the past. He's very good at. Now, the guys on staff that we have information on, we usually like to have at least 3 years of data on these coaches in order for us to have a solid rating or a solid grade.
Start with my favorite, EJ, Coach Barthel.
Oh yeah, EJ Barthel. Okay, so guys,
I don't even think I've ever talked to you about him, but I have this weird affinity, right? As the minute he was hired, I was kind of gushing. I was just looking at his resume. I looked at the room that he was inheriting. I looked at where he'd been and kind of what his track record was, and I was like, man, he kind of fits my personality. I like Coach Barthel. So if you can only finish this interview if you're going to say good things. Am I on to something or am I not?
Excuse me. Guys with under 3 years of experience, we are able to track their arc and we determine whether they are They have the profile in the first 3 years of their coaching to be superstar head coaches or not. 2 of them on Nebraska do. Barthel's one of them.
Let's go.
And Cooper's the other one.
Hey, that's mine.
Yeah. So the guys with under 3 years and
Hey,
not
that's
saying that
scary, but good. I got a DB in my house.
Yeah. So that's not saying that the guys who aren't on that track aren't good coaches, but those guys have the potential to be phenomenal coaches, like top 10 at their position coach in the country. Very, very, very promising young coaches. Those 2 are, especially.
So what is before I move on to another staff I'm curious about, because I think they're getting national praise and I want to ask you about them too, but what is it in particular about those guys that gives them such a positive arc?
It's the results that they have been able to get with the talent that they've had in their rooms compared to the talent that they're playing is that proportion there is phenomenal. I mean, he went to a UConn running backs room where UConn had not had a lot of success before. You know, I'm drawing a blank at who the head coach is there now. Jim Mora, yeah. Before Jim Mora got there, UConn had kind of had very limited success and quite frankly struggled very mightily. He got there and look at the running game at UConn almost immediately. We like to see immediate flips. We like to see immediate results. We like to see progression. Okay, year-to-year progression, and his year-to-year progression at UConn was phenomenal. So that's one of the things we look for. I would expect that to happen as well at Nebraska.
Hey, what's the best, because you've worked with other teams and not just throughout this process. Like most recently it was, hey, you guys were a big piece of the process and compiling data for the next Nebraska coaching staff. But what's the best story that you have or that you've come across along the way in everything that you do? Like working with what I mean by that, like what's the best story that you can share?
Well, okay. Yeah, I have a couple. This past coaching season or silly season, I guess you would call it. We got a call from a Power 5 school. I can't name names because they get real touchy with contract. But we got a call from a Power 5 school that we had not worked for before, but they had gotten our name through the grapevine through a couple other Power 5 schools that we had worked for before. And they were going through a coaching change. They needed to get it right. Their fan base was really antsy, and they wanted to fly us into an airport in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, to meet there for 24 hours to go through this data and then fly us back. And it was that quick. It was that quick. We gave them our point of view on what they were looking for, and they said thank you, bye. And 2 weeks later, they hired the guy that we'd recommended. So it was like literally that's how I came up with the whole we're the tool in the back of the garage that nobody really knows what it's for until you need it, and then it's like, okay, that's what that's for, and then we get forgotten about again.
Let me ask you
until they find you.
Let me ask you about a staff that's definitely piqued my interest, and some good, some bad. Like if a selfish DB, like former player DB, is like, I want it to be bad, bad, bad. Objective DB that's an adult is like, wow, it's kind of impressive on the surface. What do you think they're establishing or doing at Wisconsin with kind of this cultural flip they had? Because the staff on paper looks pretty good.
You are not wrong. That on staff, that paper
trending. Let's go.
On paper, that staff, that was now on paper, because there's also I also have a story of a Power 5 team we helped 2 years ago who hired a bunch of superstar coaches that too many of them wanted to be head coaches, and they were all doing their own thing. There was a lot of infighting on that coaching staff, and that whole staff has almost turned over now. So just because it looks great on paper doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be great on the field. But on paper, that Wisconsin coaching staff is probably one of the top 2 or 3 best in the offseason hired. I don't know.
It's going to be
if the philosophy of Phil Longo is going to work in the Big Ten. There's a certain threshold of running play percentage that has proven to be successful or needed to be successful for teams in the Big Ten to win. Phil Longo does not meet that. I mean, we'll see if that bucks if he can buck the trend. He's really good. Phil Longo is a very good offensive coordinator. We'll see if he's able to make that offensive system work up north in Madison.
You do a good job of coming up with, and I know sometimes people think because, originally you've been a Nebraska fan, your data is very objective, right? So you'll have your rankings. You guys are really good with win totals. You've been scarily accurate in terms of models. When you look at this team with all the roster turnover that they've had, how difficult is this to kind of cap when you put out your win projection models?
Well, it's gotten more and more difficult the past 2 or 3 years, just with the transfer portal and how to navigate, a player's production from one school coming to another. Like, how does that translate? Because you're going from one philosophy, one offensive coordinator is pass heavy, and you have a wide receiver who's coming in with a bunch of yards. Well, that we've heard maybe that's not maybe the case that Coach Rule wants to do at Nebraska is throw the ball a lot. So how do those receiving yards and receptions and all that production he had at school X, who liked to throw the ball around, how does that translate to a school like Nebraska with a new staff, and Coach Y, who has said, okay, we're going to be ground to pound, we're going to huddle, we're going to do all these other different things. So things like that make it a little bit more difficult. But last year was the first year I'd kind of tinkered with doing things a little bit differently, and it turned out to be results were a little mixed. But it's definitely more difficult than it was 5 years ago. Let's just leave it at that.
Hey, keep it with that recruiting point. With all the new faces, what have you kind of seen or followed along with when it comes to translating that production from a previous school to Nebraska with like certain players in particular? Like, do you have that data to back up some of those things?
Are you speaking transfers through the portal or?
Yeah, transfers through the portal.
What we've seen and what we've kind of noticed is you always look for players to what we say follow up. Okay, so you want, for example, you want guys from North Dakota State, you want guys from Montana, you want guys from these big FCS programs to come into your program because they're hungry. They've never been in a big Power 5 school before. They seem, and there are exceptions to the rule, but they seem like they hit more often than they don't. Rather than getting somebody, say, from
Georgia to Nebraska.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody who maybe was 3rd or 4th on the depth chart is coming from a program that is used to winning, used to all the creature comforts that come along with that. They come to Nebraska. Maybe they're not quite as hungry now. Trey Palmer last year, I think he kind of proved that wrong. But more often than not, across the country on a wide scale, what we're seeing is you want to see guys who are falling up, guys who are coming from the G5 programs who succeeded there and are hungry to prove themselves at the Power 5 level. That seems to be more transferable than somebody coming from a power school to dropping down to somewhere who just to get more playing time.
Let me ask you one more quick question. How's it looking for schools locally in the area like Kansas State and the staff that they put together to be a thorn in the side of maybe what Nebraska wants to do?
They're definitely going to be recruiting the same guys. I mean, it's the same philosophy. You've seen Chris Kleiman's teams, North Dakota State and the ones he's had at Kansas State. That is a very good coaching staff at Kansas State. It's the best. I think we have it rated as the best in the Big 12 right now as a coaching staff collectively. So they know what they're doing. They have a blueprint. They're executing it. There's going to be some recruiting battles now. I think if Coach Rule can get this turned around and get going in the right direction, I think the cachet that Nebraska has will still trump that of what Kansas State has, especially being in the Big 10 versus being in the Big 12. But they're definitely are going to be recruiting the same pools.
No doubt. Does K-State have a blueprint?
So good.
No doubt. Adam McClintock, thanks so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it. And, I feel like I've learned something today. So that's all that matters, right?
Appreciate it, Adam. You're always good.
Adam McClintock, co-founder of Matrix Analytical at CFB _professor on Twitter, if you want to toss him a follow.
There's a lot going on in there. So we talk a lot. Usually it's over Twitter. And he works with a guy, Dave Bartu, who is another really, really smart guy. And they've tweaked all these methodologies like, coach effect and positive coach
And they've been doing
effect.
this for 9 years?
So
10 years?
this is kind of a new thing together, but yes, each
Okay.
of them independently have been accruing a ton of data, and they kind of come together for this deal. But there are several schools around the country that seek their input. And if you're following either Dave Bartu at Matrix Analytical or Adam at CFB Professor, they'll sometimes comment on other coaching hires to give opinions because they know. It was just the other day, Power 5 school had hired a guy. They were super pumped, right? The fan base. And one of the guys, I think it was Dave, he goes, yeah, I don't know if, being ranked 101st and such and such and such and such was something to really be excited about, but hey, it's just they
have the information.
They typically are very good. And I ask about those two staffs in particular because they seem to be very efficient at what they do, and they're very, very particular in their recruiting methodology. So, of course, they stick out to me in terms of, okay, who can potentially be. I call it an issue. That's not the right word. It's not an issue for some. It may be an issue for me. But
is that why you brought up 2 schools in question?
Yeah. Well, they just have some similarities.
Right. Before you brought up Wisconsin, when you were talking about a coaching staff, a new staff that interested you, that in my head, I was going to butt in and say Wisconsin, but I didn't.
I'm paying close attention to the Big 10 West, right? Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota. And I try to pit it against what's happening. But 2 good things. A guy called Super Coop could in fact be Super Evan Cooper.
Come on, baby.
And he likes my man EJ Barthel, so I'm feeling good.
Hey, every year Stuart Mandel and Bruce Feldman compile a list of the top 25 college football coaches. We'll continue this conversation next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Last segment, we just got done talking about how, Matrix Analytical may be a big brother to a lot of college football teams. And speaking of big brothers, how about Big Brothers Big Sisters' mission to support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth? Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Midlands targets the children who need us most, including those living in single-parent homes, children in foster care, growing up in poverty, or coping with parental incarceration. I know I wanted to reach out to Big Brothers Big Sisters. I was telling that to DB yesterday because it was always an organization I was interested in being a part of. I went to a gala one time back in college, and it was very moving, and the effort that they do and the impact that you can have on a child's life, I think is so great, so important. And research has shown that positive relationships between littles and their bigs have a direct and measurable impact on that child's life. Go to mentoromaha.org to sign up and become a big today. As we move toward this next point that I teased, DB, I read yesterday an article put together by Bruce Feldman and Stuart Mandel about the top 25 college football coaches entering the year. And believe it or not, Matt Rhule is somewhere in the mix before even having a game at Nebraska under his belt. Now, you can probably guess why, but before we get there, I want to see if you can guess the top 4 names on their list. They are, I think, gimmies. So before I say them, I want to give you a chance to to go through their top 4 college football coaches.
Well, Saban.
Saban is 1.
Kirby Smart.
He is 2. This one, you'd probably be like, okay. But he's a top guy.
They're going to say it, but I don't know how I feel about it. Ryan Day?
No, he's actually 6th on the list. A team that didn't really live up to expectation this year, kind of found their way back late in the year. ACC team.
Oh, Sweeney.
Sweeney is 3.
Yeah, he's kind of come under scrutiny the last couple of years. I'm surprised.
It's because they fell
I
off?
think people kind of look at him and Day in a similar light, even though Day hasn't been as long.
Let's just say,
but they're very
Sweeney
tough.
built it though.
Yeah,
Day went into it.
They're very tough on those guys.
I don't know why you're tough on Sweeney. I can see you being tough on Day, not you. I'm saying like just the mass.
Yeah.
And then who comes in at 4?
Harbaugh.
Yeah, good call. Good call. The top 4 coaches are Saban, Smart, Sweeney, and Harbaugh. And then coming in at 5, DB.
I'm not going to get it.
James Franklin. I'm not the only one who thinks he's a really good coach.
How long was that back and forth?
Man, that was, it was a good 5-6 minutes, but it was about what? 2-3 weeks ago we talked about that.
I don't even know if his own fan base thinks that, which isn't necessarily the barometer because fans can be a little out there, but that is extremely high.
He's had 4 top 10 finishes in the past 7 seasons, and I talked about that 11-game win total 4 times for the guy.
Listen, Drew down. If you had a game, listen.
I know where you're going with this. Let's go.
I'm just saying, like, if Brian Kelly and James Franklin had the same players, you're taking James Franklin?
Yeah, James Franklin and the programs that he's built, yeah.
Over Brian Kelly, a multiple-time coach.
I'm going to take James Franklin here.
Man, I would beat you.
I'm going to take James Franklin.
Okay, let me give you one more.
Okay.
Because I think he's fantastic, but everybody told me he was too old. Kyle Whittingham, James Franklin.
James Franklin. I'm taking James Franklin.
Why? So are you enamored with the bravado?
Maybe.
The recruiting?
Maybe because of not only his program building and recruiting, but maybe I'm tied up in what he did at Vandy. Like watching a guy take a program that hadn't been in the top 25 for years. And I'm saying like over half a century. And then bringing them to the top 25, 2 out of 3 seasons, and then moving over to Penn State, going to the Big Ten title in 2016. Like, this is somebody that constantly is improving a program. That's why I think James Franklin is a fantastic coach. Maybe that is being enamored because of what he's done, but why am I enamored about Matt Rhule? Because of what he's done, because of who I know he can be. It's that program building, that recruiting that goes so far.
Man, I think you're grossly underselling Brian Kelly.
And I'm not trying to. Brian Kelly's a fantastic coach.
Fantastic.
Top 10 coach too.
My man T-Mac said, I'm done with Pastor Sweeney. See, and I hope T-Mac is wild.
Pastor Sweeney.
But, you know, I think when people think he comes across as disingenuous or a little preachy, it's turned people off. And
do you think that'll turn people off about Matt Rhule? Because sometimes he can come across that way.
No, because he'll still go have a Bud Light and tell you to F off.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I think at the end of the day, if Coach Rhule wants to tell you to go fly a kite, he will. And if you want to sit down and break bread and have a beer over lunch, he would do that too. I don't see
Sweeney ever saying that,
and I don't think people think there's any duality or hypocrisy in the two. Sweeney has come under fire, man, the last 2.5 years, and he's kind of fallen out of favor. I originally thought it started with kind of the false chip. Then he had the comments about NIL, and that wasn't received well. And then, you know, it's just weird. I just think he's been, for as good as he's been, I'm surprised, and I shouldn't be, at how quickly the proverbial tide is turned
on him.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Where I was going with this is Matt Rule is on the list, and he's not in the top 10, but Matt Rule comes in at 15 on this list of top 25 between Stuart Mandel and Bruce Feldman, and it's all based on what he did before 2019.
I'm going to guess.
Oh, I think I said the number, but go ahead.
Did you?
If you missed it, let's go ahead.
I did, because I thought you said it's outside the top such and such, but did you say the number?
I think I did, but go ahead. Just go. We'll just run with it.
Well, if you said it and I missed it, I'm pissed because I try to listen, but.
Yeah, but sometimes if I say outside the top 10, you may have thought, oh, okay, in your head, and then I may have said it while you were thinking that. Go ahead. What number do you think
Appreciate you bailing me out, because that's exactly what happened. I'll say 18.
15 on the list is where Coach
Did you say,
Rule
Shane, did he say 15? Because if he
Uh,
did, I felt like I had a moment where I felt like my partner wasn't listening, but that would have been deja vu.
No, because like I think like that sometimes too, where you say something
Did he
and I'm
say
like,
15?
hey, did you
15?
did this,
15?
and then I'm like, oh, shoot,
okay.
you wanted me to ask?
I got my first non-Kool-Aid chugging moment. 15 seems high.
I thought so too. For a guy that came over from the NFL and you're basing everything when you miss 3 years of college football,
15
you're
seems
basing
high.
everything
Listen,
off of what happened before 2019.
That is respect.
That's before what that's 16 was DeBoer.
Oh, that is Aretha Franklin.
And this is what I'm getting at now.
That
locally,
seems high.
we've been saying it since the moment he was hired that this guy has a gene that can find and develop talent. But it being recognized at the national level like this, that's where I think maybe we're not drinking the Kool-Aid as much.
How about, so we were talking to Adam McClintock. He mentioned, which is, I think people are now figuring out the connection with Georgia and Nebraska and why that pipeline works, because if they couldn't do it, then the next guy that they trust, we're going to send them to. That happens to me a couple of times a year in school. Hey, this and this has happened with this particular student. He wants to leave. Can we send him to you? I know you'll look out, right? So I can respect that. But you know the big one that he missed that just got paid? Just got paid. Just got the new deal this offseason. And he was a lowly little high school coach that no one knew about.
Sure.
And Coach Rule hired him, and that was McGuire. He just got paid at Texas Tech.
What about Wager?
Well, unproven.
Okay.
But McGuire got paid.
Yeah, he did.
So
got a lot
we
of
know
money.
about DB coaches and we know about D-line coaches at A&M that were off the grid. We know about DB coaches that just got paid at Georgia. How about the head boss in Lubbock? Was anybody banging down McGuire's door before Coach Rule got him? No, he just got paid.
Yeah.
Like, pretty sure they just finished his deal. And listen, Hockey Dad, you knew he was going to get me. He said, "Way to listen." 15.
Yeah, so I did say 15 then.
And leave it to Jay Rich to call me on it.
By the way, I would have switched 3 and 4.
That's why I hope your throat bloats over hollandaise sauce, buddy. Okay? I really don't.
Hey, speaking of sauces, how about we talk about the guy that puts pizza sauce on bread? Not just bread.
Who's
nice tasting crust.
Extremely combative.
Who probably
yesterday.
has a security video of DB falling down.
We don't even have to talk about that.
I'll ask if he does. Next, it's Matt Vrzal.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back as we wind this thing down on a Friday. It's Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Happy to have you with us and happy to be joined now by Matt Vrzal, former Husker and Pison's Pizzeria owner. Matt, good morning. And I beg that you have security footage of DB falling down yesterday.
Stop.
I pray. Do you have it? What do you?
Only in my brain.
That's okay. I'm sure it lives on repeat in your brain too. And I'm sure you didn't give him a hard time either.
As much as he was complaining about it, I'm surprised he made it in.
No, whoa. What was I complaining about?
Whoa. Damon.
Matt!
You dusted your shirt off repeatedly throughout. I probably got a cut and scrapes underneath there and it fell and it hurt.
That's not even my voice.
That was how you were acting.
Really?
I feel like I'm seeing it now.
When you lifted your sleeve up, I expected a bone to be sticking out. That's part of your reaction.
I thought I tore the shirt material. That's all.
So what happened is you probably got hurt because you're the 9600 volt MVP and you bit it on a parking spot.
Yes, get him that.
I was an offensive guy, man. I was backpedaling.
Hold on just a second. Yeah, I'm on a phone call, but okay. Next man.
You don't mess around.
He's just doing his day job.
He hung up on me yesterday. Hey, got to go to work. Bye.
He's a busy guy.
What do you think I got going on?
Hey, Maddie, could you believe Mosman didn't even help me with the bags?
Hey, man, I had to go buy some trash bags. Definitely.
I used two trash bags. Stop. Would you stop?
Oh, did you put the meat in a new bag because of the holes?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would have done too.
Well,
would
Matt,
you have called somebody that owned a business and said, "Hey, do you have trash bags?"
That's when he hung up on me.
No, I probably would have gotten trash bags because you allowed DB to bring his meat to you.
He was mad at me that I asked him if he had trash bags. Like I should have known better. So he hung up on me. No, that's
not true. We were talking, and someone was coming in to pay money to eat food, so I had to then serve them. Stop lying,
Matt. Were you mad that I asked out of respect,
Maurice.
were you mad that I asked out of respect for trash bags?
It was just the fact that I think you really in your brain thought we didn't have them.
Well, I know
Or
you
that I
have
would inventory the trash bag.
I don't want to take you for granted, right? I told you about the drinks and stuff that you put on your tab. Like, I don't want to be that dude.
But it was when I buy a drink, you put it on your tab and then you inventory it. I was like, you think I'm inventorying trash bags? It wasn't going to go good either way because you either think I'm inventorying trash bags or after every meal, we walk out to the dumpster outside and dump the waste into the dumpster.
You're an idiot. Whatever. Were you mad at me about how I returned your whatever you call those health powders that I was taking? Did I put those in the right order?
You did not put them back in the right spot.
Matt, I'm not going to spend this whole segment arguing with you. I did exactly what you told me to when I was done with
the day before when you were in, they were all out of whack.
But I did it right yesterday, right?
You did. You're 1 for 2. You're batting 500.
You're like a married couple, like arguing about like who gets custody of this, that.
I don't even understand.
There's no custody.
Versus owns all. Hey,
possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah, but see, here he
There
goes.
There he goes. Hey, Matt, I was asking DB about this during the break because I said, Westside only having one football player down at State. And I was thinking, with you coaching at Scott, is there any crossover represented at State from Scott?
Yeah, we got a little bit, not a whole bunch. Wyatt Archer, of course, played safety for us. And then Stretch. And I'm sure I might be missing somebody, but those are the 2 seniors. So those are the Stretch. Stretch is one of the 6. I think Stretch is 6'9" or 6. Yeah, we'll call him 6'9". He ain't 6'10". But yeah, good kids. I mean, they're ready. George was in last night after the game, and I was like, "Hey, good job!" And just the permanent scowl. I was like, "Okay, good luck, buddy."
Hey, he's awesome though. We talked to him yesterday, and I don't know. You know him a little better. I don't know if it's a manufactured chip. He's either uber competitive or you guys are like brothers from another mother because that dude stays on the gas.
Yep. No, his is probably because he's short. He's not very tall. And he's from North Platte, which North Platte people are always us against. You think I'm us against the world? Jerks is like us against the universe. But does a great job, and he and I have a good time together. Like we'll super intense dude, and the devil to him is always in the details, as you say, Damon. So he loves the work, like he loves the practice, and he loves to make them better, not scoring the ball, not shooting, to play defense. Like their defensive setups that they do I don't think you see it much anymore.
Yeah, he's like a 25-minute shell guy, right? Like you're like, really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, he loves the shell.
Dude, that's totally Alvin. That's Mitchell. Like that's a summer AAU practice, and I know that's the dirty word to you, but like they'll spend 20 minutes doing a shell drill, and I'm like, this is why like people are miserable when they're done with practice.
Okay. So Damon Benning is going to talk out both sides of his mouth now.
I'm not Maurice, but go ahead. Jerk.
Okay. So you,
Matty Aloysius,
you, the king of portable. I can take this with me everywhere. I can do this in any weather. I can do this in any stadium.
It's not my voice.
Doesn't want to take defense with you?
No, I do. I do. I like it. Like I like the fact that the kids are tough. Okay. I just think it's interesting. Go ahead.
To be portable, though, you got to put in that work.
Yeah.
That portability does not come overnight. You got to know the pain of it. You got to know the preparation of it. You should be telling Alvin you want more of that.
Listen. He's the only guy I know other than Matt Vrzal who, when Micah comes around you guys, he understands respect and authority. Like Fita gets in him pretty good. Kind of like you guys. I mean, you guys are a lot the same, right? It's so I definitely appreciate it. I just think when I'm looking at Scud and people look at that basketball team, it's just weird how sometimes they don't think discipline and toughness, and that's really the core of who Coach Juergens is. It seems
that's Juergens, yeah. But it's Juergens, it's Eck, it's Jerome, it's Walls, it's Will. I mean, that's how they roll. Like they know what's up.
So here's the
funny part of it too is when they're like, they usually come over after the game, have a couple cocktails after everybody leaves, and so they're talking. They ain't talking about some offensive set that they run. They're talking about defensive misses.
Are you going to get a chance? You're saying, I'm working, man. I run a business.
Now we're talking like Matt Vrzal.
But you do love to support other. Like you'll go to your kids' sporting events. Like, will you be able to even get to Lincoln at all?
No, probably not. No, not. And what happens usually is I get a little brief stop in after party. So they'll come here, snag some pizzas, and then head over to the party.
Are you penciling? Are you penciling in a championship? Mosman will have his bottom lip pouty and stuck out if you're like, if it's a Scott Platteview thing.
Hey, buddy, both of them got to win today.
That's what Sautter said too. He said, "You guys can sleep on Crete and York if you want to, but both those teams could win."
Oh no, I'll tell you this for sure. Crete has the full attention. The full attention of everyone involved. Yeah, they're young.
They're a gritty team, man.
Good 1-3-1.
You're gonna get two good games today. I'm just telling you in Class B. I don't know what's going on in A, but you're gonna get two good ones in B.
Hey, for a handmade, not pre-made DB protein special, can we get? And I'll do some work for you, right? I'll throw some stuff away or bust some tables or whatever. I just want the Cobb salad with all the meat. What's the winning for Crete and Scott? Is that game won in the 30s, 40s, or 50s?
Oh my God, if it's in the 30s,
I'm telling you, don't kid yourself. I could see a 39-37 kind of game. Ooh.
I think you're 40s. I think you're mid to high 40s.
Okay,
I think that's a good
take
number.
The 40s.
Yeah, I'd take the 40s too.
I didn't want the 50s. I was hoping he'd take the 50s.
No.
I need a tiebreaker because I think 40s too. How about
set an actual line like a 47.5
for the winning total?
Yeah,
Maddie. Over winning team over under 47.5 team total.
I'm gonna go over.
Okay, I'll take the under.
I would have gone over too.
A little bit of work for the specialty Cobb salad. Is that a deal?
We don't have a Cobb salad.
Well, you'll make the one that you like. The one that you'll make me.
A chef salad?
Yes, that. Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Cobb.
And then your
chef.
drink that you make has absolutely zero protein in it.
Dude, I can't stand
it. Mud water.
It's not funny.
Dude,
it's not
so funny. The thing that you'll make me like he's dad.
It's what he thinks he is. Hey, see you, Dad.
See you, boys.
Hey,
Bye.
CFBers, thanks so much for joining the show, and thank all of you out there as well. We'll be back next week. Catch Boys State Championship basketball this weekend, and Mavericks tonight on the ice. See you then.